Emotions are like colors to the soul. When they are in harmony, everything feels just right. But when your emotions are all over the place, everything goes up in flames. These are 10 ways emotions like shame, unworthiness, and abandonment can fuel psychological issues in children and adults. 1. Low self-esteem. According to the world population, around 85% of the world's population suffers from a great deal of low self-esteem issues throughout their lifetime. Low self-esteem is a psychological condition that often feels like carrying a heavy backpack of negative thoughts and feelings about yourself around. And it often begins with feelings of shame and unworthiness. In childhood, low self-esteem affects a child in a number of ways. The fear of rejection and criticism can make them withdraw and become anxious, especially in social situations. Some children may even turn to risky behaviors as a way to fit in or cope with these overwhelming feelings. As such individuals transition into adulthood, the impact of low self-esteem gets even worse. Adults with low self-esteem grapple with a bunch of insecurities that can take a toll on their confidence, physical well-being, and relationships with other people. 2. Depression. Depression takes on different faces in both kids and adults. But no matter what face it takes on, it's mostly linked to negative emotions and feelings. When individuals experience persistent shame and feelings of unworthiness, it creates a negative self-perception. This negative self-view becomes deeply ingrained in their psyche and contributes significantly to depressive thoughts and emotions. It also fosters a sense of hopelessness that may make individuals feel like they are destined to fail, incapable of achieving happiness and at fulfilling their potential. For children, depression is a lot more different from what we typically think of in adults. This is because kids might not have the right words to express their feelings like grown-ups do. Kids with depression can struggle in different areas of life. They might have trouble at school, withdraw from friends and family, or feel lonely and worthless. And if it's not treated, it can follow them into adulthood and lead to more issues down the road. 3. Anxiety disorders. Emotional experiences like shame, unworthiness, and abandonment can significantly contribute to anxiety disorders in both children and adults. When individuals carry emotional burdens, they often feel out of place in the real world. These feelings of inadequacy can create a constant state of worry and fear about how others perceive them. In turn, it can create a breeding ground for the development of anxiety disorders. The constant state of worry and fear that comes with shame, unworthiness, or abandonment can indeed be overwhelming and significantly affect one's overall well-being and daily functioning. Finally, it can also hinder social relationships, limit personal and professional growth, and lead to a sense of isolation. 4. Attachment issues. According to psychologists, our early interactions with caregivers shape our capacity to form and maintain relationships later in life. So, when a child experiences abandonment or inconsistent caregiving during their developmental years, it can disrupt the formation of a secure attachment style. Abandonment in childhood can manifest in adulthood as difficulties in opening up to others and sharing one's true self in relationships. Some folks even develop an avoidant attachment style, where they become emotionally self-reliant, as they may have trouble relying on others for emotional support or intimacy. The impact of early abandonment experiences can also affect trust, emotional intimacy, vulnerability, and even provoke intense jealousy and possessiveness in adult relationships. Unfortunately, without intervention, these individuals might unknowingly repeat unhealthy relationship patterns by choosing partners who reinforce their beliefs about rejection and unworthiness. 5. Self-harm. One recent study suggests that as many as 1 in 5 children between 10 and 18 years old are engaging in intentional self-harm. And here is why this happens. You see, when people experience intense emotional pain, such as feelings of shame and abandonment, they may find it incredibly difficult to manage or express these emotions in healthier ways. Self-harm, on the other hand, can serve as a coping mechanism, a way to temporarily escape or release emotional pains that come from shame, unworthiness, and abandonment. By focusing on physical pain, individuals may believe it provides a more manageable outlet for their emotional distress. 6. Borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder, BPD for short, is a complex mental health condition that is characterized by significant instability in various aspects of a person's life. This instability often comes from early experiences of abandonment, neglect, or inconsistent care during childhood. Early emotional experiences like this can profoundly shape how individuals perceive themselves, others, and the world around them. You can think of it as a puzzle with a missing piece. People with the disorder often feel like they're missing that crucial piece, which is a consistent sense of who they are. To cope with this uncertainty, they might wear different masks or take on various personas, depending on the situation. For example, they might act one way with friends, another way at work, and yet another way with family. In turn, this constant shape-shifting can create a sense of inner chaos and confusion in both kids and adults. 7. Self-sabotage. Imagine you have a goal, a dream, or a chance at happiness in front of you. It could be a promising career opportunity, a loving relationship, or a personal aspiration. But deep down, you don't believe that you deserve it. This is a classic example of self-sabotage rooted in feelings of unworthiness. As an adult, you might find yourself procrastinating on tasks related to your goals or avoiding opportunities altogether. This often happens because the idea of succeeding triggers anxiety about meeting high expectations or the fear that others might see your perceived flaws. Children can experience self-sabotage too. They might avoid studying or completing assignments because they believe they're not smart enough. When these issues aren't addressed early, they can persist and create bigger challenges in adulthood. 8. Self-isolation. One of the most common responses to intense emotions such as shame, abandonment, and unworthiness is self-isolation. People experiencing these emotions often withdraw from social interactions as a way to protect themselves from potential rejection or further emotional pain. These individuals may believe that revealing their true selves or opening up to others will lead to rejection or abandonment. They fear that if they expose their vulnerabilities, they will be met with criticism or indifference. This fear of vulnerability can prevent them from forming genuine connections. And in the case of children, this isolation can hinder their ability to develop crucial social skills and form healthy friendships. They might struggle to trust others or express their emotions because they've learned to keep everything locked inside. But here's the tricky part. Isolation tends to make those feelings of shame and unworthiness even worse. This is because when you're alone, it's easier to reinforce negative emotions and beliefs. And when loneliness creeps in, you may feel even more isolated within your own thoughts and emotions. 9. Self-isolation. Trust issues are like that sneaky friend who borrowed your favorite sweater and never gave it back. Persistent and sneaky. And it can be a significant consequence of experiencing abandonment for both children and adults in profound ways. For a child who has experienced physical and emotional abandonment at a young age, it can become challenging to trust people in their life, even as they grow older. They may hesitate to form close friendships or open up to others about their feelings and vulnerabilities. The fear of being let down or abandoned again lingers in the background, making it hard to fully connect with others. Adults with trust issues also struggle to trust their partners due to fears that they will be betrayed or abandoned. This can in turn fuel jealousy, insecurity, and even lead to the sabotage of healthy relationships. 10. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Trauma takes on many forms, and emotional experiences like shame, unworthiness, and abandonment can be traumatic in their own right, especially when they occur during sensitive developmental periods. When children experience traumatic events, they can develop a post-traumatic stress disorder. And on the flip side, the emotional impact of this disorder can be too much for a kid to handle. This can hinder their ability to form healthy relationships and trust others, which are essential for their emotional development. To make matters worse, kids don't just grow out of the PTSD that they develop due to these nasty emotions. These feelings of shame and unworthiness can stick with them as they grow up. Due to this, adults who experience shame and feelings of unworthiness as children may carry these negative self-perceptions into adulthood. These effects can be particularly influential in shaping their mental health, relationships, and overall well-being. In the end, our emotional baggage is a bit like a messy closet. So instead of trying to untangle it on your own, consider reaching out to the pros or confiding in a trusted friend. Remember, a problem shared is a problem halfway to being solved.